That is what you call déjà vu. In French, it's called déjà vu. When sometimes you meet certain people or you go to certain places and you find there is an air of familiarity. You are very familiar. As if you know that person long time ago. And then you begin to talk. Or you go to a place and you think, I have seen this place. But you have not been to that country before. But you say, yes, I have seen these things. These are all familiar to me. But this is a little bit, just touching the top of the iceberg, no? Of your past memory, little bit. Those who like to sing songs, you hear certain songs and you recall. Yeah, very familiar. And very quickly you can learn those things. These are your past habits. And yes, but what are the present day, modern day experiments which they have done to bring out case history or evidences of rebirth? Yes. Through the process of hypnosis. You call this retrogressive hypnotism. Retrogressive hypnotism. Retrogressive hypnotism. That means to go back in the process of time. There is a very famous story in America, and it was this story which really rocked, which really hit the country and caused a very big stir in the United States. I think in the 50s or in the 60s, no? In the 60s, I'm not sure exactly when it is. It was the case of Brady Murphy. Have you heard of this? Brady Murphy. Of Brady Murphy. And there was this one woman by the name of Ruth Simmons, I think. Yes, Ruth Simmons. And she once went through hypnotism session. She was hypnotized. And then, during one of these sessions, she recalled that she remembered that she was so and so. She was Brady Murphy. And that she said, at that time, this woman, Brady Murphy, lived 160 years ago in Ireland. No? But this woman, Mrs. Ruth, she has never been outside America. So she started to talk about Brady. And she said that she was at that time married to a lawyer, a famous lawyer. And she gave the details. Then what happened was, later on, some research was done in this case. And they went to those places where she mentioned the names And they found that there was such a person by the name of Bridie Murphy. And that Bridie Murphy did actually marry a liar. And this was 160 years ago, from the time she was able to recall her one of her last life. And then a lot of research had gone into this. A book was published. It was actually one of the bestsellers in America at that time, The Case of Bridie Murphy. Have you heard of this? How many of you? You have heard? Have you seen the book? Huh? You have? Oh, I see. And it was this that many people had read, and then there arose that many people with their views about the one lifetime story, because most of the Christians at that time in America, they only believed, they had this idea of the eternal hell and eternal hellfire. That was only not very long ago, about 20, 25, 30 years ago. If you had the opportunity to, if you had gone to America at that time and talked about rebirth, they might just laugh at you. It's good if they laugh at you, if they don't burn you. Because they are famous at burning people, no? Putting in sticks and burning you. And so, this case came up, and then the people started, those with more liberal-minded people, they begin to accept the stories. And then later on, more and more of such stories appeared. In fact, this case appeared in the newspaper, in the magazines, and so many, very widespread case story. And that is how now, today in America, when you talk of rebirth, they all, but many people accept, they can accept rebirth. In fact, I have come across groups who are doing what you call rebirthing. You know rebirthing? Oh, you do not know. Huh? In Australia, last year, when we were in the Blue Mountains, and we have come across one group of people who do this, they have these activities called rebirthing. And they are, the person who did this who conducts this was a former Roman Catholic priest. Now he is no more. He passed away only some months ago, just before I left Australia. And what they do is, they get the people together and go for retreat like this, and then they will do some kind of meditation. And they keep on observing certain parts of the body, and then focus on one part of the body, and then keep on focusing, and then they try to recollect their former lives. So some people, when their mind focuses on the fingers, then from there, they observe the feeling. Then their mind gets concentrated. And after that, they start to, of course, sometimes imagine, most of the time rather, imagine what they were. But there are certain occasions where some are able to recall part of their past. Now this experiment is nothing new, because in the Buddhist practice, the Buddha was an expert on this. Do you remember what happened during the night of the enlightenment? When the Buddha sat under the Bodhi tree, what happened to him? You only remember about Mara. When Mara was defeated, what happened? How did he remember his past lives? Remember, he sat under the Bodhi tree. And it was, what time was it? Oh, you know, huh? Yes. It was towards evening, the first watch of the night. The night is divided into 3 periods. 3 or 4? The night is divided into 3 watches. The first watch of the night is from around 6 to 10. The second watch of the night, 10 to 2. And the third watch of the night, 2 to 6. These are the 3 watches of the night. As the Buddha sat in contemplation, when his mind became clear, he said, Aloko udapadi jnanam udapadi panya udapadi. Buddha said that Aloka, light, arose in me. Jnanam udapadi, insight, knowledge, arose in me. Chakkum udapadi, the eye of wisdom, wisdom eye, arose in me. And he said, I was able to see. What did he see? During the first watch of the night, he saw his past lives. Firstly he saw 1, 2, then he saw 3, 4, 5 lives. He saw who his father, mother was, brothers, sisters, and he was able to know all the details of it. Then, in multiples, 10, 20, up to 50, then multiples of that, 100, 1,000, and so on, so on, so on. As far as he could penetrate, to go back in time, he was able to recall his lives. He did this throughout the first period of the night. And then he dwelled further. He turned his attention to the present and further purified his mind, strengthened his mind. And then what happened? The second watch of the night, what happened? Yes, he saw how beings die and how they are reborn according to their actions, what they have done. He saw beings pass away in one realm of existence and how they are reborn in another plane of existence. How the very rich and miserly person are born, they are die and reborn in miserable planes of existence. How the very handsome one die, become very ugly beings, and how ugly beings become handsome ones too. All according to the actions that they have done. This is what we call the law of the Buddha was able to see very clearly the law of karma, the law of cause and effect. The knowledge that arose is what is known as Chutupapata Jnana. Chutupapata. Chuti is that. Upada. Upa is to rise, be born, then die and born. So the Buddha was able to see that. That was the second watch of the night. And the third watch of the night, from 2 to 6 o'clock, what happened? Yes, he began to see how things arose. Everything, whatever he turned his mind, he saw the phenomena arises, and he was able to very clearly see the conditions that arises. When this condition arises, he saw this arose. This arose, this arose. That when this ceases, that ceases. He saw this phenomena. Then he turned towards looking at the sufferings. You can also turn when you look at the sufferings. You look at the painful sensation. You can see when pain arises, what happened to your body? What happened to your body when the painful sensation arises? When some pain arises, when your leg is very painful, what happened to your state of mind? Next time, afterwards this evening, you watch, okay? Watch closely. When your leg is very painful, then see what happens in the mind. What thought arises in the mind? Anger, aversion. Sometimes, yes. Sometimes, the first thought that arises, the first thought that arises is, relax, want to move your leg, right? Want to move your leg. Then, when the pain goes away, sometimes when the pain comes, then your body starts to move. You start to wriggle here and there, and start to bend down like that. But when the pain goes, automatically the body is still. The mind is calm. So you can see like this, causes and conditions. And the Buddha was able to see how the defiling tendencies, greed, hatred, delusion, how this great hatred, delusion conditions suffering, and particularly the main cause, ignorance, avidya. And then he was able to formulate, after realizing how things arises dependent on conditions, then he formulated that formula on dependent origination. You know the formula of dependent origination? Paticca samuppada. Avidya pacca sankara, sankara pacca vijnana, and so on. Later you will learn that. Now, for today, just remember what the Buddha realized during the first watch of the night. What is that first watch? Seeing the previous life. What is that knowledge known as? You know? The Pali word is Pubbe Nivasanusati Jnana. Past lives, or knowledge of past existence. Not only the Buddha is able to do it, now there are his disciples too. Can you read? Can you see? Never mind if you cannot remember these Pali words. Never mind. But we have a term here, and where it is possible to recall past lives, and although the purpose of Buddhist meditation is not merely to recall past lives, some people have this idea, and they want to meditate in order to recall their past lives. Now, this is quite dangerous pastime, because if you just recall what you have done in this lifetime, you can remember some of the good things and some of the bad things. When you remember some of the bad things that you have done, some of the very bitter experiences that you had last year, 2 years ago, 5 years ago, how do you feel? You feel remorseful. Not only remorseful, you feel very depressed after that. And how long does it last? How long does it last? It depends, is it? Yes, it depends. It depends on how strong your mind is and how much you are able to apply the Dhamma. How much you are able to control your mind. If you cannot control your mind, if your mind is not yet controlled, if you still have not learned to control your mind, then it goes on for a longer period. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, sometimes a few days. Those thoughts of the past condition you. Now we are only talking about this lifetime. If you are able to dig out what you have done, 2, 3, 4 lifetimes, you know what happened? It is just like digging the, we have the rubbish bin there, no? When you put all the flowers and all the other things up there, and you dig. Of course, sometimes you have very good flowers, still fragrant. But as you dig deeper, you also get the rotten ones. Very good smell. You cannot stand it. So, in the same manner, when we try to recall our past prematurely, without the ability to control the mind, then this happens. We get very upset, and this is how the mind can become confused in that. So what is important is the right purpose, the right aim in your meditation. So we had to clear these things with those people who came every night, those people who were doing the rebirthing from the rebirthing center. They came to our meditation session. Every night we see them. They are the Australians in the European extractions, come from various places. And some of them have given up their jobs, in order to have this rebirthing experience, to find out what their previous lives were. And they know very fact that these Buddhist monks, they must have read something about Buddhism, and that Buddhism accepts rebirth, and they also teach about rebirth. So they came to meditate with us, and after that they hear it is possible. Then slowly, they left the rebirthing center and joined us. And then they forgot about their past life, because we tell them what the present life is very important. You can't do anything what you have done. Whatever you have done in the past, that is gone. You must have the wisdom to check the present moment by making the firm resolution. If you see that certain mistakes you have done in the past, you decide now. Now, from now on, from today, not say, after the novitiate program I will start. No, now, right now that I have come to know this Dhamma, from now onwards, I determine not to do that again and set myself in this right course. Then your mind becomes free. If you can determine that, your mind will become free. This is how you can reduce and overcome the remorse that arises in the mind. So, rebirth, it is possible to recall this. In the case of those who are purifying their minds, we talk about the different stages of concentration and absorption. When one reaches the fourth stage of absorption of jhana, then it is possible from then on to recall the past life. And by recalling, when last year, few years ago, when you were young, at one age, 5 years old, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then recall the time when you were in the mother's womb, swimming, then until can recall that, and you can see those stages, and then past that barrier, you can see the previous lives, like that, stage by stage. So there is a way, there is a method how this can be done just by the training of the mind. But what is important is this, the purification of the mind. In the process of the purification of the mind, one's mind is stable, one can control the situation. And this knowledge arises as a byproduct. And the person who aspires to purify his mind will not cling to this knowledge. It just comes. He does not cling to it. Although he knows that this is it. He does not cling to it. Then, so this is one way by which we can remember. Through hypnotism, through the development of one's mind, we can see these things. And there are many cases. We can cite you many examples, many stories, rebirth stories. And but the best one actually that I can remember, I have forgotten many, I have read many past. And this book, this small booklet on Do You Believe in Rebirth, it has got quite a few stories here. But it hasn't got that one story about, I think those of you who joined last year would have remembered, a small boy who was about 5 years old, if I'm not mistaken, when it was discovered. He was in Sri Lanka, in Kandy. And he used to sit in the corner of the house and he will recite. He will recite the discourses, suttas, by heart. He was only very young at that time. And without any books, he will just recite. What did he recite? He used to recite long discourses like the first sermon, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. He will recite that by heart, no? And even when this incident was brought to the attention of some old monks, elderly monks came from far off temple and came to hear what he recited. They were surprised. They were totally taken by surprise because old monks, those who have been monks for 50 years also, may not be able to recite everything by heart like this, and very clear pronunciation and intonation. Wait. And then, you can listen, you can hear also. You want to hear? I didn't bring the tape, but it was recorded. I think Chief Reverend has the tape with us. Karma, and in the tape on karma and rebirth, somewhere in the middle we have put. I remember when Chief Reverend gave that talk in Singapore at the one of the auditoriums there. What auditorium is that? DBS auditorium. Oh, about 700-800 people were there, and then we play this tape, evidence of rebirth. And because there's still a lot of people in Singapore don't believe in, rebirth, you see. But now quite a few of them have changed their minds. And now this boy, later on, when he was asked, he was able to recollect his past life. And he said that he was present. He was present when the Buddha was cremated. He was there. He attended the funeral. And he was there. You know him? What was his name? Amitabhosha. He said his name was Amitabhosha. I do not know what his present name now is. He's a little, quite big boy now. And his name, he remembers his name was Amitabhosha. And the other thing is this, that while reciting, before he recites this verse, he says, in his very boyish voice, he says, "This is my Dhammadana to Munindraji." He gives the name of this person, Munindra. Munindraji. Ji is in Hindi. In India, it is a respectable term of brother, or, it's like a respectful address. So, he says, "This is my Dhammadana, my offering, Dhamma offering to Munindraji." Now, he is a little boy. He has never been outside of Sri Lanka. Who is this Munindraji? Today, Munindraji is still alive. He is in, where is he? Munindraji? You do not know? Mahabodhi Calcutta, is he not there? He is a meditation teacher from India. Is he in Mahabodhi? Yes. Yes. He is a famous. Now, he became a very famous monk. Not monk, sorry. He's a layman still. I think do not know whether he's a monk. Is he a monk? He's a layman. And he teaches meditation in different parts of the world. Chief Reverend knew him when he was a boy. When Chief Reverend was studying in the Hindu Banaras University, in Varanasi, near Sarnath. And at that time, he was cleaning the temple. He was looking after the temple. And after some time, he took up meditation, and then he became on his own a meditation teacher, and he had gone to various parts in the West, and many people have come to know him. It seems that this boy refers this to this Munindraji, and then began to recite the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta and other suttas, long discourses. In his recital, certain words he pronounced differently from what is being recited nowadays by the monks today. And the scholarly monks were able to point out that in the past, in the ancient times, this is how this word used to be pronounced in that way. Yes, that way how this little boy recited. So he was also able to recall, of course, his previous mother. And his previous mother was living in a very quite a well-to-do family. But the present mother is not so well-to-do. So now, from what I gather, that the previous mother has invited him and his present mother to stay with him. So now he has two mothers now. One is the present mother and the past mother also. They are living together now. And that's what I heard last time. And there are many such cases of how, another instance, little girl was taken, the parents, the mother took her to the market, and suddenly one red car passed by. As soon as the car passed by, this girl, certain thoughts of the past arose, and then she looked and she saw across the street, she saw a woman. She dashed in front and says, she called, "Mother, mother, mother." Her own mother there, who was holding her, was surprised. How you call her mother? He says, "I am your mother." No? He says, "No, that's my mother." Start to call, "That's my mother." Then, once, twice, these things perhaps went unnoticed. And maybe he says, this little child, this is the way they behave. But later, again, she identified. And this was brought to the attention of certain monks. And then they investigated the case. And there is one person from America, from the University of Virginia. And what was his name? Yes, his name is he's still alive, Ian Stevenson. And he will, when he comes to know that there is a certain case, even that boy about who remembered his past life, Amita Ghosh, Ian Stevenson had come to Sri Lanka. He flew all the way and took all the details recorded. And he made a scientific study of that case. Similarly, Ian Stevenson has done quite a few systematic study in a scientific manner of cases of rebirth. not only in Sri Lanka, but also in other countries. But it is, you will hear more stories from Sri Lanka, from Buddhist countries, because when there is the acceptance, when people accept that there is this possibility of rebirth, so when such situation arises, they would naturally go and investigate this. On the other hand, there are also cases in other countries, but in those countries where people do not have such belief, people do not accept this phenomena of rebirth, then even their children, if they are able to recall it, they will just hush them or perhaps send them to the psychiatrist and then, give some, what you call, some tranquilizer. And that's it. They do not go on to investigate such cases. But there are recorded instances in various parts of the world about rebirth. And there are quite a few books that you can read if you are interested in the stories. But this simple book has got enough stories, I think. For do you believe in rebirth? Do you? How many of you believe? How many of you don't believe? You don't believe. You don't believe. Good. Why don't you believe? Very good. That means he accepts it. He doesn't believe in it, but he accepts it. Do you know why? Because the word believe implies a certain amount of uncertainty. So he is very clever. He is the only one who accepts. All the others believe. So all the others are not certain. They are not certain. But there are now enough evidence to accept this. So if you accept this, then what you were, karma and rebirth, the study of karma and rebirth must go hand in hand. You cannot understand what karma really is about without having some understanding of rebirth. So today, other religions are also beginning to accept. They accept karma. Already in America, the dictionaries published in America, English dictionary, if you look, they have accepted the word karma. Yes, in the English dictionary. It's a Sanskrit Pali word. Sanskrit is karma, Pali is kamma. Now accepted is usage. But of course, many of them use with their own ideas. They have sometimes diluted and polluted the meaning also. I have, when I went through some, the newspaper, I see there are people in the football field, footballers, using this word karma. When they try to kick the goal and they cannot, the ball missed, he says, bad karma. And these are European footballers, these are European footballers, bad karma. Is it? Yes. Oh, by George is now, he professes to be a Buddhist now. Like Lena Turner and so on, no, I cannot share you what my previous birth was. And I only know this birth, but I have confidence that They must be in the past too. Huh? I must have lived in the past too. Mm-hmm. Yes.
I understand that
Yes. Yes.
be able to tell that
Yes.
where
Yes, that's right. Sometimes they can tell you because they have that aspiration. And I told you last night how there is this Buddhist tradition maintained in different countries among different different school of Buddhism. They maintain different meditation tradition. Now, this tradition is maintained by the Lamas. So, very well with regards to the contemplation on death. So that is where, at the time of death, their minds are very clear. They can direct where they are to take birth. In the case of, in the Theravada school, the tradition of meditation on the four foundation of mindfulness, beginning with the body, especially with regards to Kayanupassana, that is, the practice of mindfulness on the body, is a living tradition that you can find living masters today who have perfected themselves in this tradition just by watching their breath. He said how in his last birth, in his last life, before he attained his enlightenment, he was able to free his mind from all the defilements through this practice. He mentions that it is in the Samyutta Nikaya. And so there are this tradition handed down to different teachers. And then from there are different variation, slightly different variation, but coming from this practice. So there are this tradition handed down to different teachers, and then from there are different variation, slightly different variation, but coming from this practice. And in Korea, in Japan, particularly more in Korea, they also have a certain lineage, from teacher to pupil, and they still maintain certain good Zen practice in Korea, more so in Korea than in Japan. And so like this, in different countries, they are able to maintain. And therefore those people, those teachers have certain skills better than others, you see. So there are different skills depending on the subject, what they develop, the mind. Yes. You know your past birth, what you were before? Maybe a monk too, no? Yes. Yes. Oh, identical twins, karmic point of view. Do you know, I have read a story in a newspaper in Sri Lanka. Before, it was I think in 1981, 82, before I went to Singapore. I read this story of an identical twins. And now this is one boy. There's one boy and one girl. I'm not certain whether both girls or one boy, one girl. Let us say one boy, one girl, okay? And what they are now, at that time when I read, they were about 7 years old, 5 or 7 I think. And this little girl was talking, and talking about her previous life. And she was telling the mother that she was so and so, and giving a boy's name, a boy's name. And then she said her good friend was so and so, another boy's name. And then she also mentioned where she died. She can remember the place that she died. And then they took down all these particulars and went to investigate. And they found out the place where that boy, the name that she had given, and it was true that that boy died at that particular place. During the insurgency in 1971, when nearly 50,000 young people died, out of, some were killed, some, and managed to escape, and the few committed suicide. This was one instance of this boy. He was killed. And then the name that this girl had given as a friend was his good friend. His good friend. In fact, they had died almost the same time, at different places. And the story goes, not only that the parents of the other boy has been year in, year out, has been giving what you call doing the transference of merit. And she said that when she performs, transference of merits, later it was confirmed how the former son, the son who passed away, who is now a little girl, she will, on that particular day, where that memorial day is, and the transfer of merit is done, she will on that particular day turn and sit in the corner facing the direction where her former mother lives, And so they were able to trace that this boy, these twins, now they were born as twins actually, and they remember one was this and one is the other. In the previous life they were good friends. They were very good friends. So with that kind of attachment, they come back again in this world, and they come back together. Affinity. There's affinity. Although karmically their minds may be slightly different, they may not think alike, but to a large extent their behavior, their likes and dislikes are similar, because and how they love one another, that is, you can see, this is one story, there are many stories if you look in. Last time when we had the exhibition, the cultural exhibition in Singapore, we managed to dig out a lot of rebirth stories from the newspaper, from the Straits Times, the past years from 1960 onwards, and they have published a stack of them. I do not know where it is now, the stack lying, and we put up that, and we exhibited those things. How there was one girl who was able to recall her life as a dinosaur. Yes, as a dinosaur. You able to recall your life? They do not know. As long time. And also able to recall her other lives also. And this has been documented. Yes. Anything else? Yes. Oh yes. Why is it that some people have the power to recall their past lives, some people do not have? You see, there are some what you call child, those, according to the studies made, they say that those who, when they die, those who die of sudden death, and their mind is still strong, very strong impressions there, then when they are reborn, they may have the ability to recall. But when those who die of natural death, when their minds are weak mind, then difficult for them to remember that. Now, you can also understand this phenomena by what? Even when you are alive now, here and now, you all differ in your ability to recall the past. Can you recall what you studied, what you heard yesterday at this time? But some can recall. Some can recall. Some can remember. If you can remember, then I will ask you, can you recall what you studied last week at this time? Some can, some cannot. Right? And in the same manner, we go back, in retrospect, we go back to last month, last year, 5 years, 10 years ago. Can you remember that? Some can. Some can still remember their early days. Maybe not very clearly, but certain incidents they can remember clearly. But some cannot do that. So even here you find there are varying degrees how people have their memory differs, you see. The bad one can remember. Oh, maybe bad one easier to remember, is it? But, no, there are some good ones too that you can remember. But very often some people tend to remember more of the bad things. They? Birthday, every year, you can remember. Oh, your birthday party. Yeah? Because she has, her mind, she don't think of other things, no other distraction, so her mind only think of this festival, naturally. They know this year when is the next festival coming up. Next festival, they can tell you what day. My grandmother too could tell that because she had no other responsibilities, no other. But here, when you have so much of responsibilities, so much things, then you It really depends on the priority, what you take, what you want to do, what you want to remember. No? Yes. This question has been asked again and again about populations, how the population of this Earth population has increased manyfold, many times. And where do they come from? Right? Where do they come from? What do you think? Very good. You have heard, you have studied the different planes of existence, no? So, these beings, the beings that are born, not all of them have been born from, necessarily lived into this planet. They could have come from other planes of existence. That is why some are born with deva-like qualities, with virtuous, very virtuous qualities, And when they were young, some are born with ghostly, these things, very angry and very strong hatred in their minds, and some are born very good. And some are born, if you look carefully, some are born with animal-like behaviors. During the time of the Buddha, when the Buddha was preaching, there was one incident when the Buddha was preaching. Ananda, who was the chief disciple of the Buddha, who used to observe, when the Buddha preached, he saw there was one man, one monk. He was one man, I think, not monk. He was digging and digging and digging the ground. When the Buddha preached in the open, So this one man, while the Buddha was preaching, he was digging the ground, digging with his finger, digging, making holes in the ground. Ananda saw this. Then Ananda looked around and he saw another person. This other person while the Buddha preaching, he had curled up his body and almost like snoring, like that, sleeping. Usually when the Buddha taught, all the people were listening very attentively. But there are these different what you call personalities. And another one, Ananda saw. He was seated, he was leaning against the coconut tree. And as the Buddha taught, he was holding the coconut tree and, keep on as if wanting to climb the coconut tree. It doesn't need a Buddha to know what his past lives were. Then Ananda asked the Buddha, after the sermon, after Buddha had preached, Ananda asked the Buddha, Master, how is it that all the others are listening so attentively? How is it that one there, that person there, I see him digging. Then the Buddha looked, says, who is that one? Oh, that one. The Buddha said, Ananda, for 500 lives before, he had been Chaching, chaching? Worm, digging the ground. You see. So still now his habit is that. The habit, animal-like habit is there. That habit is there. Then Ananda says, what about that one who went to sleep? Oh, you know, huh? Buddha said, yes. Previously, for so many lifetimes, he had been a snake. And after eating, he will coil up and go to sleep. What about that one who is sitting by the coconut tree? Right. He had been a monkey for so many lives, and now he is that. Actually, this thought, the thought of being born as a monkey or a donkey, or as a rat, as a pig, as a dog, as a cat, the idea of being born as such animal is unpleasant. But if we are to carefully observe these animals, they have all developed they have their own faculties, and they have certain special faculties, certain skills which they have developed which we do not have. Right? Take the cat, the tree kitten that was born during our novitiate program. I do not know, some people want to come to attend novitiate program, they could not come as monks, so they came as kittens, I think they were born just before or just during? During, no? There you are, he knows also, no? Looks like he has got some ability to see, you know who? Now, this cat, they can, at night, their eyes are very sharp, and they keep watch throughout the night. No? And the dogs, can you beat them with regards to smell? They can smell. They can hear certain sounds that you cannot hear. So, all the other creatures, the ants, the rats, they have certain abilities that you do not have. They can move in such a way that, you see, you may be right there, but you do not know where they are. They know how to sneak by, right? Some of them know how to come up your body without you noticing it. Yes, they have this ability. Can you do that? You can't do all these things. So we cannot look down on them as such, because they have developed different faculties. Now you see, as human beings also, amongst the human beings, there are different individuals, different people developing different faculties. Some like to stay up in the night. In the daytime, they sleep. At night, they like to go out. They go out in the street with big eyes, looking this corner, that corner, everywhere, looking for birds. Then their eye faculty, they develop their eye faculty. Then what happens is, when they keep on developing this eye faculty, using this eye faculty, then the part of the brain called the optic lobe, the optic lobe in the brain begin to become bigger and bigger, bigger and bigger. But that thinking power, they don't want to think. Don't want to meditate, don't want to think. So the cerebrum becomes smaller and smaller, smaller and smaller. So this is how their features begin to. This is their karma. This is how they are molding themselves. We are constantly molding ourselves, day by day, moment by moment. And it is no wonder that what we do, how we condition our mind, and then we follow, then it is our habit patterns by way of speech, by way of bodily action changes. You see how some people's voice have changed according to the state of mind. Your voice can tell the story of your mind, the state of your mind. Some talk with a doggish sound. Some talk with an animal-like sound. Some chirp like a bird. So what is it that distinguishes the human being from all other animals, from all other lower animals? What is it? Yes, the mind. That is why you are called man, woman, man. Woman also there is man there. And that's why you are called Manusya. In Malay is Manusya. In Pali Sanskrit is Manusa. In English is man. In German is man. In Dutch is man. It's very close to German, man. It comes from the Pali Sanskrit word manas, mind. Manasur, usya. One who, manusa, one who, being who has developed the mind, has the potentiality to develop mind. That is what a human being is about. But there are other beings who have not developed the mind but have developed other. So if you want to hear, keep on hearing, then your olfactory organ become big. Like what? What animal can hear very well? Which bird? Which bird? It looks like a bird but not a bird. Bat. You know B-A-T? Bat. Klawa. You know Klawa? Oh, last time we have a lot here. When the chiku season, they will come and fly. I come to know of them. You know how? Because while walking from the shrine room, after evening chanting, I will walk to Chief Reverend's room. Then this bat flying out there, and sometimes let go of the fruit. Boom! It comes down and it lands. And often miss me. Just, drop there. I look up, I know, that's the bat there. The bat is, they are expert in flying. Every day you saw the slide and in the cave when I sat there is this one bat that comes and he flies but never hit, just come, zoom. And a little while more he goes round, you know. So I just have to sit still. Huh? It's a good practice because that bat is telling me, hold on, don't bend, don't move, I am coming, zoom. And so what I did was, I put down the mosquito net. When I put the mosquito net, he goes up mosquito net, zoom, flying like the aeroplane, no? And it never mix with, never crash, no crash landing, no? How expert the sound. See, that is the faculty that these animals have. So we too, among the human beings, actually, I have seen in Singapore, I have visited at least 2 houses, 2 apartments, where I've seen humans living as dogs. Very sad. They were kept in a cage. They are not allowed to go out. Yes. And, you know, like behave like a dog. When they are given the food there, they will not eat like humans. They will scatter the food there and then pick up and eat. Behave like dogs. You can see the transformation. Last night I told you the story of Chunda, right? How human transform, human being transforming today. That is why before when we talk about rebirth, those people who do not believe in rebirth, they will always ask this question: you can be born like a rat, like a dog? Huh? They have this kind of, very sarcastically they say, no, you know, and they say, we can be born like that? Why not? Because you understand that it is only certain period of time. Even as insects, they live only certain period of time. After that they die. But they have to suffer during that period of time. They have to suffer the uncertainties. Have you seen the ants? Have you seen mosquitoes? Don't think that they enjoy, you know. They are also going out to cari makan. But then they come to your place and he says, you know, window locked now. All the window closed. Then they try to sneak in and they come in. And they say, what is this smoky place here? Huh? And nobody around. They cannot cari makan. They have to go out to find their food, you know. Because human beings don't like them, you know. And if they happen to see, at least when they come here, you know, they get something, you know, because you see them, you don't kill them so much. But at other places, when they go to other house, you know what fear they have. As soon as they reach the hand here already, even before reaching, they already start to kill them. And you know, the more you try to hit, the more they attack you. And because they will, if you just hit like that, they will go and then they come back again, isn't it? They come back again, isn't it? And when they come back, they are even more fierce. Just like some human beings, right? Just their behavior, just like that. Now they cannot understand. What you do is when you attack somebody, and that person is frightened. He thinks that, somebody is attacking now him. He is not thinking that he is what you call encroaching on different territory, you see. But he says, I have the right. He says, I was born in this area. No, this is my territory. You came and you are spending your time here, If you are not here, I would have stayed here. But since you are here, I have to be here too. So these are my territory. I have got my landing rights here. So they land here. But you get rid of them. I think. Now when you try to push them, they go and they think they are being attacked. So they naturally will come more fierce. And they attack you. So the second round, if they bite you the second round, they're more itchy. And if you experience, if they bite, and after they have got the feel, they go away, then not so itchy. Because they have, in the process, they have taken out the saliva. First they inject something, right? The digestive juice, the anticoagulant, no? Then they suck the blood. And then after that, if while they are doing this, if you shoot or you kill them, then that what you call that saliva is still in the blood. So you feel itchy. But if after they have taken and they go away, they take out, naturally they take out that thing and they go.
How about maintaining our mosquito bite? And you look on moving first and
you be careful. Next time somebody also will play the game on you like that. While you are eating, nicely, then they will pull the trap and you are stuck. Don't enjoy doing that. Is? No, if you, of course, you should try to avoid it if you can, understand? If you can't, there are certain places if you can't, then just see it as that, and one or two may come. After that, they don't bother you. I did not believe in this thing, but when I was once, I had the experience on a beach, and many years ago, when I was with my lay teacher, and while we were on the beach, we had what you call sand flies. Sand flies? Cool, very nasty flies. They really bite you. At that time, I was not yet a monk. And then when the flies came, what did I do? Because my teacher was far away, I could not stand. And more start to come, But then after that, I went near him. And I looked. And he was just, standing like that. And I says, no flies? He says, one or two. They don't come, they don't bite. How come? How come so many here, He says, stop killing. And then I went back and I also made like that and stopped killing. But got bitten a few very, nasty ones. But after that, I saw fewer and fewer landed on this body. Then they go away. Why? Because when you kill a few, they get the fear. So they fly and they give certain, when it is danger, certain signal they give. And all their other friends, brothers and sisters, yes, the army come, and they come in different direction and surround you. Oh, then you try. Yes. So, next time you can try and see. All these things, no? Hornets especially. You know hornets. You go to the forest, hornets in the caves, they have their homes in the hornets. And if you happen to break the hornet's nest, or sometime during heavy rain, their natural home is sometime in the ground. Their nests are destroyed. So they go to look for another nest. You know where they look for? They will pass. Zoom, zoom. And they get certain, they know where there is the warmth. No? And they come either here or here. And because of the wax here, they get the smell and the warmth. They come directly there. No? Now when they come here, when you see them coming here, if you try to fight them, they will attack you. So the best thing is, when you see them, hold your breath. Don't breathe. And they may just come, walk a little while, and then, they will stroll by there, and they say, no. They say, it's not. Then they will just move away. They move away like that. You see? And the bees also, the bees also, they come and alight here. Then after that, they go away. But if you get upset and you start to struggle and panic, then they do not know. They think you are. So they will bite you. They sting you. Okay. Right. Actually, these are very important when you go out. When you go out camping, when you go out. Yes. Anything else? Yes. One or two more questions. Yes. Yes. Because of the habit, the past habit pattern, no? So that habit pattern still, they are not in the full control of this habit pattern, no? But some animals also have some human life. They have the love for certain human beings, no? They have the understanding. You saw the cat? Must be one of the devotees before, no? Yes. 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 I do not know, but these are the records that, some of the stories, some of the, evidence that have come up, I think it is under hypnotic, also under this hypnotism, And there are what we explained through, we can also have understanding of rebirth from the case of child prodigies. Child prodigies, young ones, they are brilliant. John Stuart Mill and English? Yes. At the age of 3 years old, he could speak Greek language. Then when he grew up, he started to write. At the age of 8 or 9, I'm not sure. He started to write a short history of the world, world history. Yes, without going to school. The father did not want to send him to school. And so he learns at home. And then he spoke a few languages. How was this possible? If he had not taken it from his past births, that is hard, he said. Beethoven, Beethoven, the composer, I think also 8 years old also. 7 years old he started to compose music. No? Yes, all these are what you call child prodigies. No? Yes. Any more?
From the Buddhist point of view, is there any explanation of this phenomenon disappearance of planes and
I do not know this, disappearance of planes, and I do not ship, and they say what? There is maybe just pull them down, no? Possible. Either that or from the top, suction up. I have heard, I used to read that UFOs, how they come and they just use the suction power and just suck it up. So anything can happen while you are on the road, Yes. Next. Sorry? Yes. Yes. Oh, when the person gets older, he begins to lose the memory. Yes, it is a natural phenomenon because the cells, certain part of the brain, and when the cells are not replenished, and so the memory power becomes very weak, and only before coming here, I met a monk. I went to see a monk in Singapore, and he asked me, and he knew me very well before, but then when I see him, then he asked me, he can recognize me. I tell him, he asked me, where did you come from? Then I told him Thailand. Then, where are you going to? I said, going to KL. Then less than 1 minute, he asked me, where do you come from? And I said, Thailand, just came from Thailand, Where are you going to? Going to Malaysia, have novitiate program. Oh, yeah. Then after that, we talk some other thing. Then after that, he says, where you come from? And I said, came from Thailand. Where do you go to? Where are you going to now? When are you going? Like that. And I stayed there for about half an hour. And how many times he asked me this question? He asked me this question and again. Now in his case, he is old. And but the mind is still sharp. The mind is still sharp. Only thing is that memory. So you may, sometimes your grandmother, grandfather may have this kind of syndrome.